Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to Meticulous Talks on November 26th. I am Karthik.
And I'm solving problems.
Apologies for the somewhat late start there. We were just had a couple of little things to take care of, but thank you all for coming. Hope you all, well, at least those of you who had pre-release, hope you all enjoyed it. I know solving you didn't. I don't think,
No,
right?
not yet. It's next weekend, but there's a large chance I'm busy, so.
I see.
Just have to see. Hopefully, I'll send a friend out to at least get it, so I have some cards.
Right, of course. Well,
But yeah.
Yeah, for my part, basically, before almost every draft, I went into it thinking, okay, I think I'm going to have to play Skystar. And then somehow by the end of the opening of the packs, it's like, well, guess I'm playing Tempest instead.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, except for the second one. Second time I played Seleno. But, still not Skystar. That's the point.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Which is not to say that I don't think Skystar is good. She did quite well. But
You just don't have the cards.
Yeah, generally speaking. So anyway, it's kind of been rightly pointed out to me when I announced this that this isn't technically a spoilers video anymore because the whole set is out and everyone's been looking at it for the last week or so. But call it impressions then. We're still talking about these cards that were released that we haven't had a chance to talk about yet. And then once we're finished with that, we've got about 15 of them to get through, I think. Then each of us have our top 5 cards to watch out of the entire set. Not necessarily the top 5 best cards, just the top 5 cards that people should be sort of paying attention to as things move on, the meta develops.
And to be fair, my 5 are ones that I've definitely got my eye on.
All right, so let us get to it, I suppose.
Yeah.
Right. So once again, as per usual, chronological order, we left off on November the 12th, just as... I don't even remember now. But anyway, card that came next after we stopped talking was Luna.
Like, as soon as we stopped talking, I was so annoyed.
Yeah, actually, that's true. That it came out basically, well, noon that day, right? Like an hour after we finished.
Yeah. Oh, it was so annoying, but well.
Mm-hmm. But Luna, my goodness, our first tricolor friend, orange, purple, and white, 5 cost, stubborn, exhausted to fight a friend every turn, and opponents can't move characters unless they pay 1. Oh my goodness, so much value.
So we had an FAQ quickly on how this works, where if they move it via an event, do they pay? Because I haven't been bothered to look that up properly.
It's weird. I'm actually not entirely certain on it myself. It's different from like showy taxes and stuff. I know that.
Well, yeah, because showy's conditional in area. This is just
yeah.
Everyone.
I'm pretty sure that it is movement for any reason. You have to pay an additional 1. So as long as it's a move and not a send.
It's very good. Yeah. So if it's that.
Right, yes.
Sweet. Thanks, EB, for the confirmation. But yeah, because of that, this card is just, oh my gosh, yes.
Very
just
much
yes.
So.
Tasty, 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 tasty.
Mm-hmm.
Just because if you have any sort of way of sending your opponent's stuff home, or just removing your opponent's stuff after they've put all this effort in just to move it, you just go, and it's really easy for you.
And especially with...
Obviously, it's got a giant target painted right all over her, but there's ways of getting around that. Appaloosa comes to mind because it's big.
Appaloosa is kind of the obvious choice, yeah. And it's true.
Also, I like the idea of giving this persistent. So they like put all this effort into, say, banish it, and you're just like, I'll frighten it, pay 2, go back to doing what I was doing. Yeah, it just seems like really good value for your action tokens. Yes, it's 3 color, but it's got 2 of the colors that is sort of the let's bring stuff back from discard colors, which is what I'm hoping it'll do.
Yeah. Oh, that's certainly the natural choice, and it's kind of easy to throw purple into that kind of a mix. The other thing
Yes, you really want.
that's worth pointing out is in the set that's so focused on moving stuff, that can't move stuff unless you pay 1 is even more valuable. Certainly, I did have the displeasure of playing against this once in pre-release.
In pre-release, ow.
Yes, and yeah, it was very difficult to imagine a scenario where I won that game after it came down. It's just every turn you lose something frightening, and I can't move anything. It's a hard time to consider.
Yeah.
Immediately after that, we have our pink dilemma, Friendship Festival setup. Cost 2 pink requirement, 5 on both sides. When this problem is replaced, you get 5 Earth Pony tokens. And of course, the problem is all these going to be replaced when it leaves play. So that is a guaranteed firing.
Yeah.
And 5 Earth Pony tokens is a lot. That's
yeah.
If you're playing an aggro deck, say for example, that's probably going to confront your problem.
That is basically the thought when you play this.
Mm-hmm.
If it costed 1, I'd be like, wow, why did they print this? Wow. But as it is, I'd say it's fine, and I feel like it could see play, but not as a playset.
Yeah. No, this isn't.
In my mind.
This isn't T-Rex level of.
No, it's not like, why did they print this cry for an hour? But it is sort of cleverly costed, very, very powerful effect. And it does the dilemma thing of, oh no, there's a troublemaker there that's annoying. Hey, look, a new problem.
Totally.
Just to sort of allow you to get around things, which is really useful, considering how much troublemaker synergy they've started to push just in general. Like with even the new cards in this set, there's a lot of troublemaker matters type stuff.
Yeah. In that sense, it's a really great tempo play for Pink to be able to say, first of all, we're going to get past your troublemakers and replace problems, and then we're going to set ourselves up next turn because hey, we're already confronting this problem, and so much. It places the opponent in such a terrible situation. It's like, okay, normally they get a turn to say, okay, let's see if I can get the thing set up again. But no, you're very, very likely just going to double me again next turn. And, yeah.
Seems pretty brutal.
Seems pretty good.
Is it better than that blue one that scored a point, though?
Fuckball, eh?
Because obviously Hot Wings is the current super mega punch them in the face aggro. So if we're talking,
true, yeah.
How does this adjust to the current meta? Would you run this or would you run Fuckball?
So Fuckball is a guaranteed point. This one is, it's interesting to call it, like it's almost a guaranteed point, like I say, right? If it's definitely going to confront the other problem, then yeah. But as kind of Bugle's pointing out, if you appreciate the tokens in addition to the point, then that helps a lot. Right? Yeah, that's good. That's actually a good point as well. Buckball is not necessarily a guaranteed point. Most of the time, it's a guaranteed point, but it's not necessarily a guaranteed point. Only when it's solved. Whereas this one, yeah, it's really close on the boundary. I guess is what I'm trying to say. It comes down to the slight differences between the cards. And if your deck can properly take advantage of the slight differences that this card gives you, then you'll want this card, I suppose.
To be fair, it honestly feels very good for if they want Thorax to be good and if they want Baton Effects to be good, because holy crud, it making your Thorax go up by 5 is amazing. And it, with Baton making 10 power, it's also pretty ridiculous. So yeah, if anyone's been building Baton/Thorax for a while, I feel like that's a fairly easy just throw into the deck somewhere.
Yeah,
Because
if you have if you have Baton on the field, then this is virtually guarantee on confronting the opponent's problem, even if they're playing a control deck.
have we had higher than 10?
Not without
I
Eccentric, I
can't
don't think.
remember higher than 10. Yeah, not without things editing it. Yeah, so that's neat. Yeah, I like it a lot. It's a very good dilemma.
Yeah.
Just doesn't fit everything. Unlike Tyrix Reign of Terror, which you could put in everything and it's be like, oh man, it's good.
Which is good. It's good to see.
Because we don't want cards like that.
Yeah,
in all honesty,
it's good to see the other colors get sort of good aggro dilemmas, as it were.
Yeah.
Even if I'm pretty sure like Purple's Dilemma in the set is aggro-ish, but it's still a control kind of card. It makes your troublemakers better, or it gives you. Is that the one that gives you extra flips, troublemaker face-offs, or is that the orange one?
I can't 100% remember them off the top of my head.
Anyway, yeah. So moving on. The next reveal after that was the double Queen Novo reveal. The left card in that set was this one, the sort of Sea Pony tribal leader, as it were. The 5 white power, the 5 cost, the 2 requirement. When a Sea Pony is played, which is actually rather important, played, not enters play, it reduces the confirm requirements of its problem by 2 and gives all your Sea Ponies Showy 1. So I was doing a look through the card set just before we started here to see which colors had most of the Sea Ponies. And it seems like pink is actually the leader in that regard, just because you have the 3 Sky Stars, and you have Pinkie Pie and Twilight, you have the Transform Pinkie,
Random
of course.
Kid.
Yeah, and there's even a couple more in there. And so it seems like Sea Pony Tribal is probably pink-white, based on that. Or yeah,
Makes
probably.
sense.
Yeah, and that color can benefit from showy. That it turns it into kind of like a tempo sort of style where you're making it easy to confront stuff in your turn and then make it harder on your opponent in their turn. Maybe it works, but
especially when you consider how good they are at removing things. The idea of them playing, like, it'll get to the point where they kind of start to run out of things in hand. So you can actually make use of the showy and then mark it up with eccentric, like, I guess is the idea.
Yep.
And just sort of build pink-white control, but all your friends are Sea Ponies because synergy.
Totally. I guess kind of the one issue with Novo here is that she's a huge cost, right? But she's a value over time card. You really want this to come out kind of early-ish,
As soon as possible.
Yeah, as compared to like Soleno before, the pirate leader, where it was okay for you to have a bunch of pirates and then throw that down, and then okay, now everything's got competitive, and I just win this face off by a mile. And her cost reduction on the pirate ship matters most when you've got a bunch of stuff on the field already that you want to move for free.
Yeah.
So, of course, us being in white, you're free to redeem this out of your discard pile if you want early, and then it helps a lot.
Yeah. To be fair, I'm also thinking this card's really nice if you party of 1 and keep it. Sort of thing, so that you're just like, there we go. All right, cool. I have just this, and I'm gonna make your life a bit of hell. But I don't know. It just doesn't feel efficient enough.
Yeah, good point in the chat. As sort of people should be aware based on the way that cards work in this game. This when you play a Sea Pony thing will trigger itself on this card. Just the same way that Solar Wind triggers himself, and Princess Celestia Rising Sun triggers herself as well. So technically,
So she kind of has 7
yeah, she
power
kind of
when
has
you
7
first
when she
play her, but
enters.
it's like, eh.
Yeah. Even so, yeah, I kind of agree with you there. I'm not sure if it's the good if it's the right kind of card that I'm not sure if it's a card that makes me say, oh man, I kind of want to play Sea Ponies now because I don't know if this is enough to make the tribe
Not for
really
me.
awesome. Yeah. Now we also had another Novo card in that set who was quite a little bit more exciting in terms of the effect she has on the game. Our yellow ultra rare, 2 power, 2 cost, 3 requirement, and the player with the lowest power total wins face-offs involving this card. That is that's a change from the rules, certainly. Changes the way people sort of look at the game and will evaluate the board state.
Honestly, when I first read this, I thought it was completely broken, and then I reread it, and it's like involving this card. Because to me, I just read it and went, wait, so against farming, you just play Novo and go, cool. You don't win face off. You don't beat your troublemakers anymore because their deck's much more efficient at winning face offs than it is losing them.
Yeah.
But the fact that she has to be involved made me just go, oh, you don't just nerf it by going play this.
Probably for the best.
Yeah, I guess. But I love seeing yellow cards that are broken, all right? We haven't had anything like that for a while, even if stuff gave the impression of.
Yep, I understand that. But certainly, this is like, there are some tricky shenanigans that you can pull with this. I haven't really worked out any amazing stuff yet. But it's certainly the kind of card that a deck like yellow, which is full of, a color like yellow, full of these low power stuff, full of these tokens. Uh, you've got stuff like old Lassett's Fluttershy, which is going to confront problems and not be there to contribute power to face-offs. And we've got other cards in this set which are going to do the same sort of thing. This idea of confronting a problem and then losing the face-off. Yeah, sure. This yellow can do that easily, actually. And if they're going to score the points for it, then even better. Great. So this is
It also, like, I think my biggest issue with this is there's so many ways to take it out of a face-off in the game already that it might just be kind of useless. It's like, oh man, you're playing against blue and they're about to lose the face-off. Oh hey, they play Rutherford and frighten it. Oh man, purple's going to do the same thing. They send it home so it's not involved anymore, and things like that.
Yeah.
That just sort of make me go, oh. Like, I like the card effect. It just feels a bit too easy to play around on purpose.
Yeah, it's vulnerable to a lot of those, well, face-off tricks, basically, of which the game is full of them these days.
Yes.
Now, yes, it's true. As we pointed in the chat, we do have Brian in this set. Like, that's something that you have to remember in yellow now, is that if most of your big threat cards are going to have one layer of protection, notably not against Frighten, I don't think. Brian doesn't protect against Frightening. But most of the other stuff, you have one level of, your opponent needs to have 2 removal effects to get rid of it. So our yellow big threats have a little bit more staying power than they used to, which is something.
I guess. It still just feels a bit too easy to play around to me. Even with Brian, because he is only a one-shot.
Yeah. I mean, that is actually an interesting idea that, well, hold a second. I was thinking of Cutie Pox Scare, but that doesn't work, actually. Like, if the opponent Cutie Pox is scared, so that has to happen at the start of the score phase, in which case, sure, you leave Novo there, but you're not going to fund the problem anymore, so whatever. yeah, I don't know. It's a really interesting card. I feel like I might try it out a little bit, but we'll see if it's actually gonna make yellow great again, as it were. Granted, as has been pointed out in the chat, there are a lot of cards that might make yellow great again in this set, and
It's just not this.
yeah, we'll we'll get to them eventually, or well, sure if they're in this reveal set specifically, but we will get there at the very least for the OCR review. Okay, so right after that, we had something a little bit less flashy, but still impressive. Well, maybe not impressive, but interesting all the same. Our sort of fixing entry uh, card, the Klugetown Citizen, at 4 power, 3 cost, which is already pretty good, and the ability to discard a friend, give this card the discarded card's colors until the end of the turn. So
I
that
love
is.
this.
Go ahead.
So one of the things that I was always a little bit off on when it came to the sort of the reanimator stuff that I was trying to sort of make deck lists for was I mainly had events that got cards from my hand into my discard. But with this guy, you just have a constant source of, oh man, I really want to use my use my redeeming qualities on this. So you just chuck it in there and then play it and get it back.
Yep.
And often you're going to be dropping cards that have white in them, dropping friends that have white in them, and thus he'll let you play redeeming qualities. I really like him specifically for Reanimator, and in general, he's a 3 for 4, which you really can't complain about. Like it's not bad, and just sort of being able to fix your colors by -1ing your cards. But then again, if you just discard, say, a low requirement thing, so you can play your 3 to 4 requirement thing, I'd say that's a good trade.
Yep. It's well, so yeah, as you say, one of the things that reanimation as a style was kind of missing was this discard vector. Was a way to say, okay, how am I going to discard my stuff in the early game so that I can get it out later? Orange white decks would usually run Apple Bloom for that purpose, and that's fine, but that's still just one card. Great to have another one that can do the same thing. And yeah, as you say, the fact that doing that can also be a play to get your color out as needed. Oh, that's great, and it is perfectly fine, perfectly fine color in general, even if you're not using it as the discard vector. 3 for 4. I mean, I've had decks before that would run the 4 for 4 smooths just because well, whatever, I got to run something to get my colors, and I would take a 3 for 4 probably at the cost of discarding something from time to time. I could run with that. I'll note that I did kind of auto include this deck in my, this card in my pre-releases for the most part. But I didn't actually play it particularly often. That 3 cost was just kind of a little bit much, but that's just pre-release.
When did you have it though? Like when did you draw it?
Tended to be toward the mid game generally, so yeah.
It's not that great mid.
Yeah.
Because usually mid game you've got things to move for 2 action tokens that have about 4 power, rather than playing this dope.
It's true. Yeah. But even so, as we said, it's a good inclusion to our sort of colorless color entry library, as it were.
Yeah. Your pick a color type, friends.
Mm-hmm. All right. Continuing on the ultra rare train that we kind of had this past week, we had our Winged Wonder joke card. Although the card itself is not a joke at all. From what
Hasty takes Winged Wonder from being pretty neat to oh hey.
Mm-hmm.
What?
Yeah. So we got ourselves 3 power, 3 cost, 3 requirement, Hasty, and essentially the Winged Wonder effect. Not quite, because Winged Wonder would move friends. It moved 3 of them, and they had to go to the problem that you played, Winged Wonder 2. And This card moves 2 of them. They're characters, and they can go anywhere. Yes. So different, not necessarily better in every way, but better in most ways than the original card.
Feels more likely to get used nowadays.
That's for sure. Like for all, I mentioned Cutie Fox this before. Here's a nice counter to that. Everything goes home, everything goes back. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I don't know. Like, I don't really know what to say about it because it's just good. Like, I don't know. It's a good card. We've had cards very similar to it, and they were good.
Mm-hmm.
And this is sort of a more updated version of them because it's got immediate speed, and you can move them anywhere, and you can move your main character if you want to. So it's just like cool.
Mm-hmm.
It's an updated version of these old effects, and it's probably the best one we've got now.
Yeah, and with an excellent enters play trigger, this is a great target to transform into Rainbow Dash as well.
Yes, that's fair.
Yeah.
And then play it again.
Why not? But yeah, I think you pretty much hit it on the head. Like, this isn't a card where you kind of have to think about it and say, oh yeah, I guess that is kind of good. No, this is pretty obviously impressive. And I think most people are well aware of what kind of decks this is going to go in and what kind of decks are going to want to have it. So, yeah. After that, Desert Road. 3 power resource, 4 requirement in orange, 3 cost. Goes to your home. And as opposing friends enter play, they lose their abilities until the end of the turn. So essentially, we're turning off enters play triggers.
Yes.
Which is pretty impressive. There are a lot of really good ones.
Everybody loves Applejack. Everybody probably loves the spoiler we just talked about. Yeah, there's a lot of when it enters or when you play this card type effects that this will just be like, no. Obviously, it misses, let's say, Chrissy changing Pretender as this enters play. So at least you still get to do those weird ones, like say Kevin. Kevin still gets to have his color once he gets his abilities back.
Yeah,
and things like that. You still get to make. You still get to choose your word, but they can still play it until the end of turn, and things like that. So you still get to do your decisions on these as they enter play cards.
Yeah,
but in general, it's just going to stop so many things.
For sure. Now, this is definitely a killer resource for orange. That like when this comes down,
that's the reason it's super rare.
That's the reason it's super rare. Yes, when this is on the field, practically every deck that I know of is going to want to get rid of it. Certainly, blue decks that like this sort of Rutherford and stuff that enters play and frightens effects are going to hate this a lot. I suppose control decks maybe less so. They tend to be focused more on events and sort of constant exhaust a card to do stuff effects, so maybe they don't care as much.
Well, no, because you don't say if you play Factory Jack, you don't get your action token. That wait, no, she's immediate. I guess Book Twilight, you don't get the action token back, so she kind of costs 1 more.
Yeah, you're right about that. Yeah,
I had to go for the one that was a bad example first, though.
No, you're right. I forgot about that. So yeah, this is definitely a resource that everyone's gonna hate a lot, and moral of the story is put resource removal in your deck.
Yeah, pretty much. And that gets more real as we go into the set.
Yeah. But yeah, certainly a card that I think, any sort of I'm not sure if I would say any orange deck, definitely any slower orange deck, and maybe any orange deck.
I'd say if you're running orange, put it on your maybe board.
Yeah, for sure.
Straight away, at the worst. Because it's good. It's nothing to complain about. Stopping all those enters play triggers and stuff are real nice.
Wouldn't it be something to put this in like a Sweetie Belle deck and just add I mean, this is a fine resource to resurrect every turn. Just throw back into play. Or at
Oh
least.
man, did you dismiss it? Yeah, it's very good. Don't really know what else to say about it. We've probably said
Yeah,
most of the things we can say.
I'd say it's pretty good.
Yeah.
Right. Pixie. Excuse me. 3 power, 3 cost, 3 requirement, eccentric 2. We've had a little bit of eccentric in purple, and it tends to be pretty good. And when you play an event, one of your characters or troublemakers, very important that, gets +2 power until the end of the turn. So, very clearly a nice troublemaker defense card. Purple tends to play events during face-offs with troublemakers. That's something that you do. But also has the ability to be a little bit more tempo oriented if you're playing this sort of mid-range purple deck, which is emerging, as it were.
I like the idea that it's like, okay, so I'll napcakes that and give my troublemaker +2. And it's just like, oh, okay.
Yep. Just like that, you say, yeah, you're gonna flip a 2 at most, perhaps even a 1 or a 0, and
I just counteracted it.
counteract for sure. Yeah, it's essentially your.
And it's just like, all right.
Yeah, and that eccentric 2 is it's a little bit. Like,
it feels kind of random, but it's
yeah.
probably better than. It's probably going to be more relevant than you give yourself credit for.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those things. Like, I look at it and you say, okay, like if this is going to be sitting behind a troublemaker, then eccentric doesn't matter, right? Because well, the troublemaker's there. But the same point is there certainly that like suppose your opponent is going to try to play one dilemma and like crack in the case of your troublemaker and try to double you through. In that kind of scenario, having a bunch of eccentric stacked up on the problem is great because it makes it really hard for them to actually do that.
It's also the fact that she doesn't have to be behind the troublemaker that you buff.
Mm-hmm.
So you can stick her at a problem without a troublemaker and then buff the troublemaker that they're trying to beat and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So she's got all this sort of little bit of synergy that the eccentric 2 just kind of makes sense and adds a little bit more value that could, say, push a game over the edge for you. And I always appreciate that little extra bit of value. It's nice.
Mm-hmm. Even...
Especially those times you forget, oh yeah, this actually has calming and it's relevant for this one scenario.
Yeah. Even before we had Hasty Skystar with Eccentric 4, Eccentric kind of was the gotcha ability anyway, where people were like, and I confront that problem, and do you? I mean, there's Eccentric there. Oh, right. Well, an ability that's gotten quite a lot of value out of people's ignorance over the years.
Yeah.
Unintentionally so. But yeah, I think...
I feel like they should print some sort of little cardboard cutout thing of just like extra power that you stick on problems when there's eccentric on it.
Yeah, maybe.
I feel like some people would appreciate that.
Possibly, yeah. But yeah, I feel like Trixie, as we say, she's kind of sitting in that spot of possibly good enough. She's got a lot of nice little things going for her. So, right. After this one, we had our last set of mains revealed. Tempest Shadow being one of the big ones. All of them, as we expected, with the pay to do something and turn it over effect. In the case of Tempest,
event mains. Woo.
You're searching for a troublemaker, putting it into play face up, shuffling your deck, and turning it over. Sorry, turning the card over. Yada yada yada.
Turning your deck over.
This is definitely a main that you're going to want to flip over turn 1. And I know I did it in all of my pre-release games where I played her. Yes. So, in terms of which troublemaker you're going to want to be pulling out, everyone's seeing the OCR now, so we know there's a custom-made one right in there. It's, of course, Grubber. Everyone who's played in the pre-release knows, isn't it amazing to see your opponent's hand on turn 1 and throw away that 1 entry card they were banking on?
Oh,
Yeah. Outside of that, most people go to Changeling Mimics right away as well. Another card that's really amazing to throw out on turn 1 and then say, no, no more events or no more resources, etc.
yeah. But what about constructed, really?
Mm-hmm.
It I like the effect you get, but it then just turns into nothing, which is a real big issue for stuff like Control.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
and
and
it's
that's my sort of general issue with the card.
yeah.
Yeah, you get this really nice one-time effect, but if they beat it, it's just like, okay, cool. Now I have nothing
Mm-hmm.
to back it up.
Yeah, it's a question of a trade-off, really. Like if you think about the control mains that are in general in use in Harmony, we got Ambassador Twilight and DJ basically. They're sort of the pinnacle of value over time, right? You get your
Yes.
free draw, you get your free action token, and your Meticulous, right? Whereas with Tempest here, you're trading that for the ability to like guarantee that your early game is going to be set up, right? To say, those first 3 turns or whatever, which were one of Control's bigger weaknesses against big aggro decks, there's definitely going to be something blocking one of those problems, as has been pointed out in the chat. If your main, if your opponent's main wants to confront a flip, well, great. We're gonna say no to that pretty decisively. Um, yeah. So, but of course, as you say, you're giving up that value over time. And if something happens and you end up behind, your main's not going to help you out there. So it's a really big question of whether this main is going to be good enough to sort of disrupt the control cabal that has been running the show in Harmony up to now. I think it's good that we don't have the answer to that question right away, because Tempest at least has a chance to do it.
At least she can try, but I don't have the most confidence in it myself, unfortunately.
Yeah, we'll find out. The other sort of interesting thing, actually, is Tempest, and this actually just occurred to me, has some potential in a maybe even a less control-oriented purple style, where you just need to kind of set yourself up a little bit and then go, whether you're into mid range or aggro or whatever. My experience with this main in pre-release was basically if you managed to play Traveler Spike, then you pretty much won. That was pretty much how it worked.
Yeah, fair enough.
And so, having that ability to throw something down at first, say Grubber probably in that situation, get rid of your opponent's entry, and then set yourself up a little bit, your Spike and your Storm King or whatever, and then just kind of run the board and say, hey, I have ridiculously efficient ways of moving your stuff, and I'm never going to run out of AT. And well, that's how this thing's gonna go.
And hey, she's good against multicolored Chrissy because she flips and copies nothing.
It is true. This set
And
pretty bad for
another thing in general, I feel like if there is a purple combo deck, this card will be its main because you don't care that the other side is blank. You're trying to combo off.
Yep.
Sort of thing. So if purple gets a good combo deck, this is probably the premier main for it, just because she goes, all right, cool. I'm gonna stop you while I do what I want to do, which is pretty simple but very good for stuff like that.
Yeah, that time in the early game is what we want, and it's a good thing to have it.
I think I've said everything I can say about it.
Yep, it's good.
It's good.
One main I didn't see in pre-release at all. Who would have thought? Capra. Ability this time, of course, usual stuff across. You pay 2 to reveal the top 5 cards of your deck, and put a card from your discard pile into your hand for each card with even power that was revealed this way. So, definitely one of those mains that you kind of have to think about for a while. Uh,
Okay. What power does redeeming qualities have?
3.
Dang it.
I'm pretty sure it's
So,
3.
because it's just like if redeeming qualities was even, Big Mac or Orchard Blossom, I guess, and redeeming qualities would trigger themselves, and if you milled them with him, you'd get them back into your hand, which is exactly what you need.
Hmm.
But if you just mill redeeming qualities, and because some of the best targets for reanimation are 5s in power, it feels like you might not be able to get it back sometimes, which sucks.
Yeah.
Oh, he does not put them in discard.
Yep.
That's all right. I didn't even. Wow. I just instinctively thought he dumped them. When are you supposed to activate this guy?
Um, when
Now that
you
he doesn't drop things himself. When do you like? Do you just sit with a 1 power main for like 7 turns,
uh,
and then go, "Hey, I might get back my." Eh.
yeah, I mean, if you want to get value out of it, you're going to need stuff in your discard pile for sure. And
It suddenly feels a lot worse. Oh, and I
it's
didn't even think he was that great initially.
yeah, it's not an obviously good main, but there is.
He
I'm
has potential at
yeah,
least.
I'm not
I feel
willing
like
to.
if you built the right deck and had a bunch of even numbers, um, being able to just because songs in general have even numbers, or am I going crazy?
I'm not sure.
Because I don't know. Oh. You see, because I thought he just dismilled. I haven't been thinking about him in the right way, so I haven't done
Hmm.
correct research, so to speak. Because I thought, oh man, you just dump some cards in your discard, and then you can reanimate them, and that'll be cool. No, you just reveal them and shuffle them back. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
He's very much a build around me effect, isn't he?
Yes, I'm
Um,
not willing to say that the card's necessarily bad because who knows. Uh, there might be something, but it's
I
definitely a
mean,
card that you have to.
paying 2 action tokens, and if you've built around him to get 5 cards, that is not something to complain about.
Mhm.
Um, and obviously, the recursion on him is pretty darn incredible if you do build around the fact that every card will reclaim itself, or close to every card will.
Yeah,
But does a deck that do is a deck that does that better than just playing DJ or just playing Octi to be aggro or anything? And I don't feel like it will be, unfortunately. I could be proven wrong, and I would love to be proven wrong. If this guy ends up being amazing in a deck that's all even numbers, that would be the best thing ever. I would love that. That would be just so cool. But my hope, now that I've reread him, is that Spike, the one that cares about songs, is 4 power, if I remember correctly.
he is.
So, if the songs also have even numbers on them, he could be the song deck guy.
Yeah, you actually make a good point about that, Bugle. This card came out like right after Silver Spanner, the all even power thing happened, and my first thought was like, well, you didn't know that this was coming, but geez, you're really just sort of encouraging people to research decks for you now, uh, as far as this main goes. Oh, sorry, my apologies. I didn't pay attention to that. Anyway, yeah, I'll say jeez. I was gonna say I expect someone to make something out of this eventually, because like you say that it is amazing, um, amazing value if you can get 5 cards back for 280. That's incredible, and I'm not sure what the restriction to all even power gives you in the set. There's some there's definitely some good cards out there. I just don't know if you can build a functioning deck out of it, really. Um, but we'll see. I'm not willing to say that. Okay, I will say it. I'm not going to say that this is not going to be a deck. I'm not willing to be too decisive in that because something is
So
probably going to
update
go
on the
wrong.
whole song thing.
Uh-huh.
The single color songs are 5, but the 2 color songs are 4. And I can't
Okay.
remember what the 3 color songs are right now. So you could play all the 2 color songs with him and Spike, and you'd start hitting a lot of value. But it's a shame that you can't hit like some of the best. Hey,
Right.
the 3 color ones are 6, so they'll also get hit by it. I
Mhm.
don't know. If he makes the song deck viable, that would make me laugh quite a lot, and I would love that. Then again, I'm the one who wants to brew really weird stuff, so
Yeah. It is Friend You Need orange, purple, and white. Yeah, so he does get his own song. That's good at least. Right. And then rounding off our set of mains, we have our yellow main, Queen Novo, which is pay two to move any number of your characters at home, which is another late game effect, but pretty darn good late game effect.
I mean, if your deck's built right, it just reads double confront or
In
make sure
essence,
you
yeah.
beat that troublemaker, things like that.
Yeah. Or if the opponent has a Luna in play, you're paying like 7, but whatever.
Pay 2 action tokens to pay even more action tokens. Um,
But
yeah, it
yeah,
definitely seems like a powerful effect. Like, I really didn't know what they were going to do with the yellow one. I didn't quite expect this, but I can't say I'm disappointed.
mhm.
It's very good, but it's once again of like, what is yellow's place right now, and what can it actually do, and does it do it better than other things do it?
Yeah, it's it's worth pointing out actually that that any number thing is actually something. There are certainly situations, especially with the ultra rare Novo up above, where you're not going to want to move everything. You're going to want to move enough to confront stuff, perhaps with a little bit of a buffer in case some tricks happen, and then leave your Fluttershy and your Canterlot citizens at home, and use their power remotely, as it were. Um, but yeah, this sort of effect obviously is best in. Well, it's great when you've got a whole pile of stuff at home, like a whole pile of tokens that you've preserved using a zipper wheel or whatever. That now you can move for much more efficiently than you would have if you had to pay 2 for everything. And it's also quite nice when you've got big stuff that you want to kind of move en masse and, as you say, pretty much confront everything.
Yeah. Also, the adorable kind of thing I like about it is, at worst, you can activate this turn 1 and have a 3 on your problem,
Mm-hmm.
which is just kind of cute.
Oh, yes, I see what you're talking about now, Bugle. Yeah, good point. Um, yeah, this is definitely an effect that you'd love to have repeated. Um, and it's true that having such a huge effect like that, like, my first thought on that was to say, well, but she's a 1 point troublemaker. But it's true that, like, flip Tempest, you flip Novo back, you double confront, Tempest goes away. All right, good stuff. That's a good point. So it's, yeah, there's once again, this is not. I don't think this is the card that's going to make yellow relevant, but it's not hurting for sure.
No, like, it's like, you know what? If someone plays this, I'm not going to be like, what? They made Queen Novo good? It's not one of those cards. It's definitely obviously powerful, but I just don't know if it has a spot right now.
Yeah, as you say, it really depends on what yellow it evolves into. It seems like there's a lot of directions the color could potentially go in right now, and we'll just have to see. Okay, we're getting into like the sort of flood of reveals that we had on like Friday or Thursday or whatever before pre-release.
Yeah.
Pinkie Pie and Twilight Sparkle. bait and switch. This was mentioned in chat earlier in the stream, I think. 3 pink.
Yes, as a sea pony, that's good because
Yes,
it is good.
because it is good.
Um,
Yeah, 3 power, 3 cost, 4 requirement, Eccentric 2, and when the card enters play, you get to replace a problem, which
Now, I
is
wouldn't say this is the new Snips and Snails, but it's an alternative.
definitely.
Um, I like the fact it has an eccentric too, just to add to sort of the pile of value. The 4 pink requirement is high, but I feel like it's doable in a deck that would want an effect like this.
Mhm.
Also, I can't quite remember the rules text for transform, but I'm guessing you can turn this into
You can turn this
Pinkie
into,
Pies and Twilights.
I believe so, yes.
Okay, so that's kind of cute considering the set. And yeah, like just replacing problems has been really inefficient for a while now. And this feels
Oh, okay.
like the first efficient efficient replace that we have for a while, like since Snips and Snails, really. Because I'm trying to think of what other ones we've had. We've had like the cheese sandwich that when you cutie mark it, it does it, which is like all right, 5 action tokens.
Right, yeah.
Yay.
Just to clarify you there, yes. So you can't transform this one into Twilight. You can transform Princess Twilight into Twilight. You cannot transform Twilight into Princess Twilight. I believe that's the way that it works, but it's weird.
Okay,
Yeah.
but yeah, like it's probably one of the most efficient replace effect that's been printed that's not in block one. So if block one goes away for whatever reason, in terms of constructed frequently, this is the new Snips and Snails.
Totally, yeah. Yeah.
But while Snips and Snails are around, I think it's just a matter of preference because this is obviously better for control because you just get to keep the body, have the eccentric, and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But it feels like Snips and Snails is for aggro because it's a 2 for 3, has less requirement and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah. If in a world where everyone was running study session, I'd give this card a little bit more consideration, of course, because
Yes.
it doesn't get blocked by that. Um, in even in a world where people were running Trixie, of course, you can throw this at the other problem and replace Trixie's problem. So like it does have some really nice advantages where Snips and Snails kind of fell down before. But you're right that like Snips and Snails had the really great thing that you could play it like turn 2 or whatever under the right circumstances, and they'd be amazing against people running training traditions or whatever.
Yeah.
Whereas this card, that 4 rack kind of says, it is still possible if you're willing to bash some flitters, but less.
Well, Angel Wings, bosh.
Yeah. Okay. That's a good point too.
um,
But yeah,
yeah.
I think it's a good tool to add to the sort of problem replacement suite, which is
Yes.
Excuse me. All right, moving on. Applejack. Orange blue, 4 power, 3 cost, 3 requirement on both. When this card enters play, you get to challenge an opposing troublemaker with it, and you get to flip an additional card during not just that face-off, but all face-offs that this card is in. So, pretty big aggro card, I would say, for sure. Yeah. Whether it's a 4 for 3 drop for sure, which is great no matter what. That's the same power to cost ratio we had for Orchard Blossom before the blue orange card. And I remember sorry, it's not named gender. That card showed up in a fair amount of orange blue. Are you still with me, Solving?
Yeah, yeah. I'm just sort of
Okay,
trying to summarize the points.
sorry, my apologies.
It's just like I'm not quite sure where this card places deck wise.
Mhm,
Is sort of how I look at it because I know orange blue does have a fair amount of big cards like for flips, but
mhm.
it's still aggro, so it will have like it still likes to be aggressive, so it will probably have small flips. So it feels like this when it fights a Trollmaker on its own, like can be varied from like being 8 to 12 power. I'll say is sort of a safe way of putting it, and it's like it it just feels so inconsistent to me. And also, there's the good old fashioned bit of oh look, it's not got one in each requirement, so isn't Orchard Blossom just better? That I feel like I could say to pretty much every orange blue card that gets printed from now on because Orchard Blossom's just kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, in many respects, yeah.
Um, and it's a tough call, and it's also a rare, which was just like, oh, really? Especially when you can compare it to an uncommon that it just feels better than
Hmm. Yeah.
it.
I mean,
Otherwise, I wouldn't say it's bad, and I bet it did a fair amount in pre-releases.
I didn't see it
Um,
too much. Uh, but yeah, it's. I think in terms of the cards we've had which do this, coming to mind, and that is specifically cards that just them enter play and you challenge troublemakers with them. We had Celestia from Camelot Knights and Wildfire just last set, and now, sorry, was it Wildfire? Yeah, it was Wildfire. And now this card, I feel like she's best of those three. Um, whether that makes her sort of, neither of those cards really got much use because they kind of sucked. But you know, if this card's going to be good enough for that, I'm not quite sure about that yet. But I guess it's just worth saying she's the best card like this we've had so far, and of course that ability to flip additional cards during face-offs, involving it forever, not just during that face-off, says that. Oh,
yeah, like it's got long-term sort of
yeah,
value.
yeah, for sure.
Like, I'm not saying it won't be played in orange blue decks, but it's like it's one of those where I'm not 100% sure on
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's
if like you would rather play something else or this. It's a tough call.
right. Yeah,
And as
it's
someone who doesn't really play orange blue, I'm not the one to make it.
it's going to be one of those sort of cards that you put into the deck while you're building it, and then as you're cutting it down, you're thinking to yourself, do I really need that card or not? Yes. Actually, yes, Beagle makes a good point in the chat that this card has a hard time losing to Staffless Arcanas. Um,
Oh, hey, that card. Shh, not allowed to mention it. It doesn't exist.
right, right. Well,
No.
as if we're going to pretend that card isn't in both of our top fives, right?
Shh, it doesn't exist. What are you talking about? I didn't. Shush. But
Well,
yeah,
there's much point in keeping that down.
simple, good card. I understand why it's rare, but I feel like obviously I feel like things that have been printed in the past have been better.
Yep. Yep. Okay. Burning Bridges. Card that I know I made a lot of use out of in pre-release. Um, Pretty excellent value in common, that's for sure. 3 cost, 3 purple, immediate speed, move up to 2 stuff. Um, it
So
was
this is our what is it? The one in Equestrian Odysseys that just moves 2 friends on main phase.
Ponyville
And
Emergency.
it had the Ponyville Emergency. So this is our immediate Ponyville Emergency, just like how Frozen and Magicite was our immediate back where you began.
In essence, yes.
And Frozen and Magicite slightly better conversion because obviously it's got the chaotic effect. But I still think this is very good. I don't know if it goes in decks, but I feel like there's a large chance that it could. It's got 5 power, so you can't use it with your cat. No.
Unfortunately,
But
yeah.
yeah, I like it a lot. I don't quite get the flavor of Burning Bridges just being moving characters. But there you go.
Uh,
Destroy
yeah.
someone's home. Dismiss target home.
Yeah, yeah. Bugle actually makes an excellent point again in chat, and I can speak to experience on this one. It's like several times you can just kind of wait for your opponent to have their stab turn and say, okay, burning bridges, and I'll move one thing home from that problem and one thing home from that problem, and boom. Not only are you not double confronting, you're not confronting at all, and I appreciate you not getting points. So, yeah, there's extra value there. I think you kind of said everything that neither of you said.
It's definitely good. It's not bad. It's very similar and has slight more power, but obviously it's got more cost.
Yeah, and
where it fits will just be found out because I don't think I can call it. But yeah, it'll be good in troublemakery stuff. Yada yada yada.
Yeah,
there's a lot of reasons to play this card.
The high cost effects. Sorry, immediate cards which have a high cost, and high in this case is basically more than 2, have that sort of slight disadvantage that you need to hold on to more AT to to be able to play them, and that's disrupting you because you might want to do other stuff for your AT, and it's also giving your opponent more information when they see, okay, he's held on to 3 AT. I think pretty clearly something's up. I certainly in pre-release we didn't have the AT generation tools that a purple deck's going to have in constructed, but even so, it would often come down to this sort of thing where I've got this in my hand, I've got like 5 AT, and I really had to sort of look at my opponent's board and be like, okay, are they going to go for it next turn? And if they are, then bank my AT and hold on to this burning bridge. Otherwise, probably play like a Storm King or something so that my spike can really get going or not, right? And so, whether that extra value that you get is worth all of the additional sort of little things that having a sort of high cost immediate gives you, we'll see.
I guess one way of looking at it is, what's better, this or Scare?
Yeah.
Because obviously they both cost 3. I'm pretty sure Scare has 3 requirement. I ain't 100% sure. I haven't played the card in a long time. This has a higher flip of 5, which is nice. And so, will burning bridges enough be able to stop 2 things? Oh, Scare has 2 requirements, so I guess it's incredibly slightly easier on requirement. Oh, I thought Scare had a lower flip. Oh well. But yeah, so it's like, do you take a bet of always guaranteeing to stop 1? Well, at least close to always guaranteeing to stop 1. Or do you sort of take the I could stop 2? And I'm not sure on the answer to that one, honestly. In a lot of cases, it's a tough call. But I also hate the fact that the blue ultra rare costs the same as this and puts everything you just did back and gives them another friend. But yeah, it's an interesting choice, and obviously this is more versatile than Scare because it's immediate and blah blah blah. But I'm not sure. I'm still not sure. I feel like it's better, but I ain't 100% on it. I ain't gonna suddenly throw all my Scares out of decks and put in this, I guess is the best way to put it.
Time to experiment.
Yeah.
All right.
I think that's everything about that.
Yeah. So there's one card left. The card they saved for what I call the sort of changeling throne spot, where the last ultra rare that got revealed. The point in just saying, "Hey, look, my Celestia is here."
Oh, hey, look, it's an Overwatch reference because why not?
Yeah, why not, right? That joke was made right away. But yeah, our other tricolor card. 5 cost, 5 power, blue, purple, blue, pink, and yellow. Swift costs 3 if you have more friends than your opponent. And if one of your friends here would be frightened or dismissed, you get to put it back up into your hand instead. So, I mean, I suppose I should be the one talking here because Celestia and all. Card's good.
I was waiting for you to sit and go on a rant, honestly. It's the best card in the set. It's 100% broken, blah, blah, blah. You know, stuff like that.
It's, unfortunately, I'm not able to say that much. I think it's one of the better Celestias we've had so far, certainly. It's a card that, yeah, it's a card that goes into its deck for sure. And like blue and yellow and pink even did get a metric ton of value this set. So like, I feel like the card's going to see play for sure. But, and this is the big but, I don't think the deck exists because you want to put this card in it. It's really good, and sure, it's amazing to have that protection. As you know, I saw from Bugle over the course of the whole pre-release weekend, 5-power Swifts are awesome. That's definitely true, especially when they cost 3. And when your opponent tries to get rid of them, you just throw them back up into your hand, and they cost 3 again. That's always good too. And this adds another level of sort of bodyguard protection into yellow. We've got Brian already. This card can protect against Frighten to some extent. You know, you probably let it get frightened, but perhaps it's better to throw it up into your hand sometimes. Yeah, it's pretty much as I said. It's good, but unlike Luna, the tricolor deck does not exist because of this card. This card sees play because the tricolor deck exists, I think.
Okay. One thing I think is really cute about this card is it's really good at making anything that has, when this card enters play, just untouchable all of a sudden. Because it's like, oh hey, when this enters play, my opponent dismisses one of my friends. All right, cool, I'm not touching that with any of my effects because it'll go back to their hand. Like, sort of protection for your friends, because if they go back to your hand, that's really bad for your opponent. Feels like where this card will sort of shine, because kind of sort of giving all your friends a sort of psychological sense of being indestructible is really nice.
There's actually an interesting question.
She says here. Oh,
yeah,
I didn't realize that. It's still really good though.
Yeah.
It's a shame she's unique then, because then you can't have here be everywhere.
I'm actually kind of wondering, and we have the people in the chat who can answer this question. In the event of multiple Frighten instances coming around simultaneously, like, you know, we're going into 4 colors here, but say that I had Napaloosa in play and I had Celestia at a problem where a villain was coming up. Does she only save one of the friends there? Oh, she can save them all. All right, that's pretty good. You know, she throws them all back out to my hand. But you know, if I had a bunch of enters play triggers that I wanted to refire on those friends, you know, there is some value in just frightening the whole board. Once again, 4 colors, but True Evil is pretty good for that. And saying, yeah.
Although it is by an opponent.
Oh, frightened or dismissed by an opponent. Shoot. I missed that part. Okay. Well, whatever. My combos are always ruined.
I love how I say it and then all the chat just says it as well. But yeah, I do like it. When I first read it, I was like, oh, this just kind of feels worse than Luna. But then I sort of thought about it and went, you know what? She's in colors where it's more realistically like you're going to just play her out rather than have to cheat her out. Because the fact that she can cost 3 is just beautiful. And it's not like these 3 colors feel like they're going to be slow at getting entry or anything like that.
No,
it's very good. They're very powerful. They're very aggressive, and this kind of fits into aggro very easily. Especially when it's like, oh no, they went to frighten my 1-cost friend. That's so annoying because now it's just pointless in most cases. But with this, it's like, hey, value, and things like that.
You're gonna have to remind me what Changeling Can Change does that's relevant to this circumstance.
I don't know. It moves. Wait, is that the song in blue?
Yeah.
So it moves 2 things. You punch a troublemaker with
Oh,
everything.
reduce the
Reduce the
next
cost by
thing by
3.
3. Woohoo! Wow, that's good.
That's adorable.
That's a good time, yeah.
So you can kind of play her for 2.
But yeah, I just want to say thanks a bunch to Interplay for giving us this list. Yeah, I'm really sad on some level that this beautiful card came in when they stopped doing foil. a little, little sad
Well,
by
she's
that.
ultra, so oh well.
Yeah, yeah. But the card art's amazing anyway. Uh, yeah, something to work with. So anyway, next up we have our top fives. Uh, a little bit of overlap between these lists, but overall, well, I know I'm okay with my picks. So, you ready to get into it, Solving?
Yeah.
Okay. So again, just to remind, these aren't necessarily the cards that we believe are going to be the top 5 best cards in the set.
Definitely not mine.
Yeah.
Mine's like more of a personal top 5, except for the number 1. That's the one I feel like everyone's going to be trying to get. Everyone's going to want to get copies of, and blah blah blah.
Yeah. But you know, it's an opinion. If you want to know like what best cards of the set are, we're going to be forced to make those guesses at our OCR review in 2 weeks' time.
In a fortnight.
Yes.
Some Brit.
So, number 5. I have Rainbow Dash Pony Pirate over there on the left.
I was very close to being my 5, but then I remembered that this exists, and I just prefer it because I'm weird.
Mm-hmm. So you can
To be
start.
fair, a giant issue I have with my top 5 is why doesn't it have Unicorn, Pegasus, and Earth Pony on it?
Mm-hmm.
Come on, we need something else for Ponyville Banner.
That would be nice. That'd be nice.
It kind of bugs me that it's just got Ally. But anyway, that's like my only sort of it bugs me about the card.
Mm-hmm.
I like this a lot because I've been playing with the Fluttershy main, and it's basically just Fluttershy main but 2 power, and that's really cool. Having an effect like that just anytime is really good to me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't 100% think it'll get played, but I'm definitely going to get some. Get a hold of copies of it because I think it's good myself.
Yep, I saw it a little
I
bit.
don't care if there's no Pegasi in the picture. It's called Canterlot's Citizens. Are you trying to tell me there's no Pegasi in the entirety of Canterlot's citizenship? Sorry, just talking to
Yeah.
the chat.
I saw that. Now we're getting into headcanon here, but yeah.
Oh. Anyway, you
Yeah.
explain your Dingo Rope.
So Rainbow Dash was a card that I got in a couple of pre-releases, and basically in every game that I managed to play her, I'd show her to the opponent, and they'd be like, "Holy crap, that's incredible!" And yeah, it's in one of the games we actually had someone throw this card down along with Pirate Ship and Captain Solano make the pirate ship free, and it's basically build your own Luna in that case, right? It's something on the opponent's side is gonna get frightened every turn. Yeah, the card is just ridiculous value for that in a color and a set that's all about moving stuff. Being able to frighten stuff on your opponent's side whenever you move it, holy crap, that's going to happen a lot. I think this card is a really high chance of going into blue decks for sure, just because you're going to be moving stuff all the time, and that's a really good trigger to get when you move stuff. In terms of artwork, yes.
Can't really argue with that. Like, as I said, I almost took it in my list, but I just like this card, and I feel like not many people will bat an eyelid on it, so I thought I'd put it on this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. In terms of visuals, I mean, we talked enough about your card. Yes, Rainbow Dash has a pierced feather, which is not quite as sensical as you'd expect, perhaps.
It makes no sense at all. But I'm going to justify it incredibly easily. Magic helps them fly. She doesn't actually need her wings. It's a psychological thing. There you go.
All
and
right.
it's piercing right through bone and was incredibly painful. Don't worry about it. Not bone. What is it that's in feather, like in wings? Cards?
Is it?
I don't know.
It's keratin
Science,
in
science,
feathers, I think.
biology. Yeah. It pierced right through it, and it might have been painful depending on which feather it was. Because if it's her flight feathers, they sometimes have capillaries in. Ouch! 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 Painful! 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 Moving on.
Yeah. And actually, yeah, Bugle's right. That card is, it just looks amazing. I think it's probably the best looking super rare in the set based on my idea of it. And yeah, it's good. It's good. I managed to leave somebody with a playset of them because I had to trade. I had to trade away. Yeah, I pulled a one of these my first pre-release, another one in the second pre-release, and I traded both of them for the other guy who pulled Celestia in his in the, in the second
Fair enough.
pre-release. Yeah.
Can't blame you on that one. I'll just feel bad when they can move this and go to frighten your Celestia.
Well, well, yeah. Celestia will just be frightened. Whatever. It's unfortunate. Anyway, number 4. I've got Spike over there. You have
One
motivational
that's
speech.
one that I feel like will actually get played rather than just, oh man, I like this card. Just because I know Singing Barrel's good, and this is just kind of a variation of Singing Barrel, and depending on the deck, it'll prefer this or it'll prefer Singing Barrel. Not really got much else to say. But with the whole sort of 3-color thing, being able to play this, like say even 2 motivational speech and just having it out so your mains all your 3 colors, or playing motivational speech for that 3rd color you're kind of splashing, just so you can actually play some of the 3-color cards. This sort of just fills in the gap in a really nice way. There you go. That's all I got.
Yeah. I agree. It's a card that I know it's not playing through release. It for in many respects it's going to serve essentially the same purpose as Singing Barrel, which is fine. In very niche circumstances where your deck actually has ponytones in it and you don't want to return them to your hand, perhaps you play this card instead. But yeah, I totally agree with you there. In terms of Spike, I kind of mentioned it earlier in the in the stream, basically that my experience in pre-release was sure you play Tempest, grab her out on turn 1, and then whether you won or lost was pretty much a question of if you got Spike on the field and going. If you managed to get like 2 or 3 moves out of him, and then you get a Storm King down, that was pretty much all that purple needed to make it work. And so I think like basically if tempo purple becomes a thing, it will become a thing because of Spike. That's basically the way that I'm thinking about it.
I thought there was like this purple aggro deck that was floating around.
It was.
And
it
feels like a perfectly fine kind of aggro card that obviously gives the deck a lot more tempo feel than aggro, but still good. So yeah, he's nice. And I also forgot he existed because I was mainly going through cards I hadn't seen and then super like rares and up when I was trying to figure out the 5s, and I was just like, oh yeah, Spike exists. Oh well. When you were talking about him earlier. But yeah, it seems good. I'm not 100% sure for Constructed myself, just because there's so many move effects like that exist, and like your number 5 kind of just punches this card right in the teeth by going,
it's
oh,
a good
man,
point. Yeah.
You moved her, but I'm just going to move it back and frighten Spike so it doesn't happen again. Because like my issue with it is, well, it's saying comparison to the rainbow, is moving is like the softest form of removal. Frighten is a lot heavier removal feeling than move. So it sometimes might feel like Spike just doesn't quite do enough, but I don't know.
Yeah.
It's to be seen.
Yeah, we'll see. And as Grandpa's notes in the chat, we do have Twilight and Spike, the multicolor, which is the immediate pay 2 to move one of your friends and move one of your opponent's friends, which is really good. It's a blue purple card, I believe, and yeah, when you're moving Spike with that, well, yeah, then you're moving Spike and moving 2 of your opponent's stuff for 2, which is great, especially with that +1 power counter. So,
Yeah.
yeah. Number 3. 2 relatively uncontroversial picks.
Yeah. So this one's also kind of a personal one because part of me was like, I don't know, maybe people won't like it because it's 3-color. But honestly, I've ever since Orchard Blossom got printed, I've basically been like, I want to build Reanimator in some form, and I keep just sort of not getting round to it. But if I get 3 copies of this, I just kind of have to because yes, this card is nice, very good. We already talked about it, so let's talk about the staff of Pointy Pointy Poke Poke.
Indeed. I guess just to calm down the people in the chat, my top 3 were all incredibly close to each other. It was a really hard decision to go between the 3 of them. Staff, I have here at number 3 because while I expected to see a lot of play, I don't expect
Feels
it
too
to,
obvious.
yeah, to
Be
change the
controversial.
game to the extent that some of the other ones will. Like, everyone loves to point out, oh, staff goes in farming right away. Sure, it doesn't really change the farming deck all that much, though. It still just is the deck,
It's just in
and
there.
now you can frighten stuff whenever you want. People like to say that this card is Gilda on a stick. In reality, it's Gilda in a stick, if you want to be completely precise.
Well, not quite. Is Griffinstone technically part of Equestria's magic or not?
Either way.
Nitpicking.
Now it's true. Staff goes in like pretty much freaking everything. This is a good point.
But you know what? Let's talk about it later because spoilers.
Yeah, all right.
Let's just go onwards.
Right. Number 2.
Now, I put him really high because I just love him. I just adore this card. I was sat there sort of thinking between Luna and Spike, which one to put at 2 and which one to put at 3. And the simple fact is, I feel like if I build a deck around Spike, I'm going to have more fun than I am with Luna. Like, oh my gosh, this card is going to be so much fun. I am definitely trying to get 3 of him, as soon as I can start getting access to the cards and start trading, because it's just hilarious. I love it. And if it's a good deck, yes, it'll make my day.
Yep. Yeah. One of the most unique, I think, of all the ultra rares so far in this set. But for just having that ability to make all the songs so much better than what they are before. Yeah. One of the most perhaps unique is the wrong word, but exciting definitely for the ultra rares in Seaquestria and beyond. In terms of myself, Tempest Shadow is here just for being the main of the 6 in this set, which I think has the potential to actually change stuff. It's
fair enough.
Yeah, I personally think that she might be able to make it into Harmony meta, and if she manages to do that, then that's basically better than a main has done for a while, basically.
Yeah, we've been working on old mains for a fair bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now, this is the point where, as we go into number 1, I have to say, as much as there were some amazing Celestias in this set, and they were all in my short list when I was making up this top 5, there's our number 1s.
Ooh, controversial. My justification for my one is it's colorless. Anyone can justify sticking it in anything. There you go. That's kind of the simple justification for my one, because I honestly can't think of a deck where you'd be like, man, staff is just awful. No, it'll be fine. Like, it won't, maybe in some decks it won't be the best card in the deck, or it won't be amazing, or it won't be groundbreaking, but it's just like, all right, it's good. And yeah, a card that can be literally just good in any deck and really good in some others, I can't really argue with it. I mean, I'm going to be wanting to get copies of it. Easy.
I don't think there's anyone who disagrees with you on that one. Yeah. As for me, I kind of said this earlier in the stream. Like, Luna is the tricolor card who is so good that people are going to get her and say, "All right, I'm going to build this tricolor deck just so I can play Luna," because yeah, she's just that much value. She's the
Also,
one.
the cute thing I really like about Luna is the card that's the reanimator target before this, which is the Starlight.
Mhm.
If you get her out and have your other two colors, and you have Luna in hand, you can drop her.
Yep.
Which is just adorable.
Yep, that's.
But I like how our number 1 and number 3 swap place for whatever reason.
They did, yes. Shows that the cards are kind of good, aren't they? But yeah, that's actually the kind of deck that I would like to build sometime. I really appreciate the idea of, hey, I've got a Glimmer and a Luna on the field, and you have one piece of removal. Which card are you going to get rid of?
And because you're playing orange, you could have played Appaloosa by now, is the honest answer. Oh, yeah. I cannot wait to start trying to brew reanimator decks that might actually be good.
Totally.
Rather than having one explosive play and then sort of going, oh yeah, I don't have much else to do right now.
Yeah.
As it's kind of felt in the past.
Yeah, and just to answer the questions that I know are there. So, in terms of the Celestias, the rare one ranked higher on my list, honestly. Day Shift, if you've seen it, the one that moves stuff to a problem whenever a problem enters play. I know that card saw a lot of use in pre-release, and I think it's really good. I think it. We've kind of been saying this for the whole stream. This card is good, but it's not the reason why yellow is good. That is one of the cards that is the reason why yellow is going to start getting better. Tremendous value. In terms of High Noon, I said it when I reviewed her. It's good. It's going to see play, but it's not going to see play because it's good. If that makes any sense, right? The deck is good. The deck is there, and you'll throw High Noon into it because it works in that deck, and it's great. But it's not the reason why that deck is going to exist. So I didn't consider it quite the impactful card like Luna is here.
You see, my little issue with Celestia and why I didn't really stick it on the list is because I'm not 100% sure what it goes in. Because, yeah, I have a Thorax deck, and if I get any, she's definitely going in because duh. But other than that, I'm like, I don't know what to put her in, and I don't know if she makes a deck appear.
Mm-hmm.
And it's my lack of faith in her making a deck appear that's good enough that made me not really want to put her on. I ain't saying she's bad. Don't interpret it that way. But I just don't think she has enough support. Please prove me wrong. I want yellow to be good. I always want yellow to be good because it was good when I started playing, and
Not
nostalgia.
Yeah.
So I hope she makes yellow actually make a comeback. I would be very glad.
Alrighty. So yeah, that's our take on it. We'll obviously be going into more detail later, of course, for 2 weeks from now. We'll have our research done, and we'll be ready to review the set in its entire glory. We both know I know we're both looking forward to that, aren't we?
Yes.
So yeah, that'll be December 10th. In the meantime, of course, you can always check out this video again if you'd like. We're gonna be throwing that up to our YouTube channel. It's listed right there for what it's worth. Bookmark that maybe if you can't remember the name, because I know you probably can't. But besides that, pretty much brings an end to our stream this week.
Yeah.
Unless
Can't
anyone
think of anything else to say.
Chat has any other questions they'd like to ask, or yeah.
Cool.
So, I'd like to thank you very much for your time solving.
Don't worry about it.
And hope you have a. We were talking about this before the stream. Solving is actually going to have a pre-release next week, right?
Yes, but I also might be busy, so
Right.
who
Well,
knows? But at least by the time I do the set review, in theory, I should have cards from the new set.
all right. Go for the memes and try to run Capra at pre-release.
You know what? If I get a really good white pool and I win a pre-release with him, I'm going to put it on the Reddit and just brag or
You
something. I don't
definitely
know.
would have the right to if you did that.
Or if I just if I play him in a constructed deck and make a crazy play with him where I get 5 cards back and thus win the game. Wait, what's Party of One's power? Is it 4? Is it even?
Jeez, I'm not sure. I'm tempted
Because
to say
if
it's
Party of
5
One's
actually,
power is
but
even,
it's 5.
it's 5. Sad face.
I
So you can't just be like, haha. But you
yeah.
know, if you can recover a little.
Yeah, I kind of feel like that is the experience of deck building Capra right now. It's like, wait, what's that card power? 3 curses! Ah!
Darn, it doesn't synergize. Yeah, I feel like it's one of those cards that if someone makes it work, it's just gonna be hilarious. In general.
Yeah, yeah. It's as Grandpa's points out. Yes, only the cards
Oh
that
yeah, I know, but
yeah,
you want a deck full of
yeah,
even numbers so that when you reveal all the cards, you get to
yeah,
trigger it as much as possible.
yeah.
So I feel
Unless
like if you're building a really controlling deck and you can make at least have 2 playsets that are odd and have the rest be even, is probably what you'd want to go for.
yeah, yeah. If you're trying Cap around in a deck where I would say even more than a fifth of your cards have odd power, you're taking a risk.
Of just not hitting as much as you would anywhere near want to.
Yeah.
Anyway, we were saying goodbye.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's probably a good thing to do. So thank you all for showing up. Hope to see you all in Fortnite. Besides that,
Hey,
I've been Cursed Chords,
and I've been solving problems.
and we'll see you all later.
See ya.